Welcome to the Wealth Embodied podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Faringer, an attorney, spiritual guide, and wealth activator. I'm here to help you align your mindset for abundance and break through any glass ceilings with money. If you're ready to embrace your highest calling, manifest with more ease, and create a life that feels lighter and more aligned, then let's dive in. Hello, I hope that you are having an amazing day. My name is Brianna. I am the host of the Wealth Embodied podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Today's topic is something that I love, and it's actually something that's super simple. And I try to keep every episode on something that's super simple, but this topic today is about celebrating your wins. And this is something that is very easy to incorporate in your life, something that I have found to be really important for me in being able to recognize where things are going right in my life, which is everywhere and more often than not. We tend to have a belief, I think, that things are not going well, particularly maybe if, we have times in our lives where things don't go well. That happens to everyone, and that's inevitable. But celebrating your wins can help shift your perspective about what's happening in your life. It gets you focused on where things are going right and not wrong, although I don't like to classify things that way because in my, belief and the way I live my life is things just are. They're not good or bad or right or wrong. They just are, and they are serving us in some way. But focusing on your wins is something that can really help shift your perspective around what's going on in your life. And this is similar to, but I would consider it to be different than gratitude. And gratitude is another very important practice. But if you already practice gratitude, that's awesome. This is a topic that I would encourage you to also try to incorporate in your life if you don't already, or if you already, do feel like you practice gratitude. I would ask you to be open-minded on celebrating your wins because I think they're different. At least that's how I view them as I'm reflecting on my day and what's going on. So, what's a win? A win is anything that you want it to be. And I'm really saying that because I think people have this belief that a win is something big, that it's something life-changing, or it's something that doesn't happen that often in their life. When to me, a win is anything that you want it to be. A win can be a failure, or something you perceive as a failure, right? Maybe something didn't go the way that you had planned, which that happens all the time. But instead of looking at it as something went wrong or looking at it as a failure, looking at it as an opportunity for growth, I would call that a win. I know some people are going to listen to this and be like, that's stupid. That's okay. I actually like when people have those responses, because when you have a response like that, that to me is a message that this is something to be leaned into. But changing your perspective on what's happening and starting to view things as wins and what can be a win can really change your perspective on what's going right in your life. And so, a win can be anything. It can be, sometimes I will look at my day and my win is that I just didn't feel that stressed that day. That is a win. That's a huge win. If I go through a day where I'm like, oh, that was a nice day, I didn't really feel that stressed, that is a huge win. Because our lives are so stressful and they can be so overwhelming and so busy. If I can start to view days and be like, oh, I didn't feel that stress today, that is a win. Maybe something happened, even though it was small. And if you don't recognize the small things that are happening in your day, you don't recognize that things are happening for you and not to you. And so, something that I would encourage people to reflect on is not just things that you're grateful for, but wins. Can you identify one win that is happening every single day? When you can focus on wins and you can focus on where things are going right, you will see that everything is happening for you. And when bad things or things that we perceive as bad or negative happen in your life, it allows you to move through those things, not only with gratitude, but by focusing on how can I use this in a way that serves me. This is not toxic positivity, by the way. I do believe in viewing things from a positive perspective because I just know how incredibly helpful it is in moving through life. I am a person who used to identify as a skeptic, somebody untrusting, a glass half full kind of person. I believed people were inherently bad. I believed, that everything should be approached with caution and mistrust. I had a negative view of almost everything. The funny thing is that people that knew me would never have, I don't think, identified me in that way because it wasn't like I was a negative person to be around, but my perspective was coming from one of negativity. While I don't believe in viewing everything in a positive light just because you have to be positive, my belief is you can move through life, you can experience the things that are happening, whether we perceive them as good or bad. You can process the emotions that come up with them. You can feel the way that you want to feel, even if it's, anger, sadness, frustration, whatever the feeling is, and still recognize where things are going right. Because when you focus on where things are going right, more of that comes into your world. When you focus on where things are going wrong, more of that comes into your world. Our thoughts create our reality. The energy that we hold in our bodies attracts things to us. And the more we are in the viewpoint of look at the wins I'm having, look at where things are going right, the more things like that are going to be attracted to you. It's just energy. And so focusing on wins is, to me, it's a skill and a practice that I have started to incorporate, and it's really changed things for me. And I'll give you an example. Our lives are so busy, our days are so busy, and there are so many things that happen in a day. So what I had started to recognize is I would have things that I perceived as being good happen. And then if after that something I perceived as being bad happened, I remembered the bad thing. And that one bad thing would affect the way that I viewed the entire day. So, for example, as a lawyer, I have lots of clients, lots of cases, lots of things that are happening in them. Some things go the way that we hope and plan for, and some of them don't. And so I would have occasions like, or I would go to the office and I would get some amazing news about a client case, and I would be super excited about it and, so happy for my client. And then maybe something completely the opposite happened later in the day. Like I got very bad news in a case. And so it would kind of be this up and down of like, oh, something really great happened. And then something I perceived as bad happened. And then I would get focused on the bad thing. And so by the end of the day, I really do think that if I had reflected on my day, I would have reviewed it over, like I would have reviewed it and said it was not a great day because I had one bad outcome. And that's just not true. It's like when things happen that we don't like, it's almost like they erase all of the good that happened, and we forget that things are actually happening in our day that are really good. So for me, at the end of the night, I like to reflect back on what is a win that happened today, because that allows me to go back through my day and say, okay, maybe something didn't go the way I wanted, or maybe I got an outcome that I perceived as bad or negative, but where did things go right? Because the more I focus on that, it would make me remember that actually really good things were happening in the day. And I would let one bad thing completely throw it all off. And it's such a skewed way of going through life. And so, wins are happening all the time. I went to a restaurant last week near my house and they gave me a free brownie. And I cannot tell you how jazzed I was at this because I love it when people give me free things. Love it. I get super excited about it. And I think I wrote that down as my win for the day. I got a free brownie. Is that going to completely change my life? No. Is it earth shattering? No. But it was a great thing that happened in my day. I had a very nice exchange with the person at the counter. She was super nice. She offered to give me something for free. That's a win. That's a win. And like I said, like that might not be a win to you. That's okay. But it is to me. And I don't know, I can't remember now if it was the best thing that happened in my day. It might have been, but that's a win. It was a nice experience to have. We forget those things because they seem insignificant, and we forget them because we focus on the negative. We focus on this bad thing happened, and I now can't remember all of the good things that are happening. And so, focusing on the wins, like just writing down one win a day, like if you write it down in a journal, or, maybe write it down and put it in a jar. People have gratitude jars. What about a win jar? What if you wrote down something that you perceived as good that happened in your day, even if it's getting a free brownie, even if it's you went to the gym or you felt good that day and you didn't feel that stress. Those are wins. You can have anything be a win. Anything where you're learning a lesson, anything where something goes your way. It really can be anything that you want it to be. It's about how can I take the things that are happening in my day and use them to my benefit? How can I look at where things are going right? How can I focus on where things can go right as opposed to where all of the things can go wrong? Doing really basic practices like this will help shift your perspective when big things are happening. I know it because I've lived it. And like I said, I was a very glass half full person, and I have a completely different perspective on everything. I am a glass, or excuse me, I was not a glass half full. I was a glass half empty person. I got that reversed. I was always focused on what I didn't have as opposed to being focused on what I did have. So that's lack. I would be focused on the negative things that were happening instead of being focused on the really positive things that are happening. When you can start to hone in on each day, something is happening in my life that's for me, something is happening that's supportive of me, whatever it is, anything can be a win. And I just know for me, it's really helped change my perspective on my day-to-day life, which can be really boring sometimes. It can be very mundane. It can be very habitual. We all have a lot of things that we have to do during the day, and we can get into this routine of thinking like everything is the same. It's boring. Nothing's happening. Focusing on the wins that you are having every day, I can tell you will shift that perspective, and you'll start to really get more in tune with where things are going right. And the more that you practice it, then practice with everything. The more that you practice, the more that this will become unconscious, and it will just become a part of your life. And it helps you to see things through a very different lens. So please celebrate your wins. If you can right now, think of one amazing thing that's happened today, even if it's early. Maybe it's just that you woke up today. Maybe you felt good today. Maybe you had your favorite breakfast this morning. Maybe you don't have to work and you're going to take the day off. I don't know. Anything can be a win. And so you can find it. If you're thinking like, oh, I can't find a win. Yes, you can. When you wake up every day and your body's continuing to breathe, that's a win. I know some days that may not seem like it, but if that's your only win, that's still a win. It's just about recognizing where is at least one thing in my day where things are going right. So I hope that you have a great day. I hope you have a lot of wins. I hope you have more than one win. I'm sure that you do. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Hey, before you go, would you love to receive my 3-step masterclass to easily create and hold wealth for free? It's called Effortless Money, and it includes the exact framework to start attracting money effortlessly and manifesting abundance with more ease. If you want it for free, all you have to do is leave an honest review of the Wealth Embodied podcast, take a screenshot of this episode and put it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Brianna_Faringer, and we will send you the free Effortless Money Masterclass. This is how my clients have manifested a $13,000 check, a promotion resulting in a $30,000 salary increase, and significantly improved relationships. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time on the Wealth Embodied podcast.